This last summer, I visited Olympia National Park up in Washington, and while going on hikes there, you're just surrounded by absolutely massive trees. These trees are 100 to 200 feet tall. You're just constantly in shadow unless the sun's directly overhead. If you've ever seen Twilight, it's near Forks, Washington, where Twilight was filmed and took place. And while I was hiking through this rainforest, my friend mentioned something to me that kind of piqued my curiosity. When you think about a tree, you know it has to get water all the way through it, but it doesn't have a pump to get water from the roots all the way up to the leaves. So how does that work on a tree that's this huge? My name is Paul Macklin, and I've done a little bit of research on this question to help explain the processes involved. There's primarily three different forces at work: osmosis, capillary action, and transpiration. So first, water has to get into the tree, and it's going to do that through osmosis. Osmosis takes place at a cell membrane when there's a difference in the amount of dissolved solids. So inside of a tree, when it's dried out, the solids are going to be very concentrated, and then if it rains, the soil is going to get wet, and the solids aren't going to be very concentrated, so it's going to push into the tree, and it's going to push through several cell layers until it gets into what's called the xylem. According to Scientific America, what xylem is it's elongated cells that once the tree forms them, they die, and the cell walls remain, and they make a column that runs all the way from the roots up to the leaves. So water is going to push all the way through the root until it hits this xylem layer, and once it's into the xylem, that's when other forces can take over. Osmosis kind of stalls out, everything equalizes, and then capillary action is going to take over. What capillary action is it's where with water it's able to move up a thin tube with no pressure difference or anything. It just pulls up, and it's going to do this because water is a polar molecule. And as you can see from this slide from the U.S. Geological Survey, the thinner the tube is, the more the water is going to be able to move up it. What water being a polar molecule means is it's got a positive side and a negative side, and like a magnet, it's going to, the positive side sticks to the negative side really well. It causes adhesion and cohesion. Adhesion is where water is going to stick to something else. Cohesion is where water sticks to itself. The adhesion comes in when the water is going to stick to the inside of the xylem, and it actually kind of climbs up the xylem, and then due to the cohesion of the water, it's going to pull the rest of the water up with it. That's going to, because the xylem's really thin, it's just a few microns thick, capillary actions is going to be able to do a lot of work here. It's thinner than a human hair. But even that's going to stall out after a little while. It's not going to be able to overcome the force of gravity, and it's gonna just stall. So how does it make it all the way up this 200-foot tree? Is that's where the third effect takes over. We've got transpiration, and sounds like perspiration, and it kind of is. This is what happens way up at the leaves. They are going to evaporate water off of them, and this is going to create negative pressure at the top. So it's going to make suction, and it's going to actually pull the water the rest of the way up the tree, and it creates a siphoning effect. This is going to basically make a solid column of water that goes the entire length of the tree. However, sometimes bubbles can form in here, and when that happens, that's going to basically make that column no longer work for moving water. But a lot of times trees can actually repair that by the water expands over time to absorb the air that got into the xylem. If it's not able to repair it, then that one's just no longer a good transportation for the water. So in this last slide, you can see the full process. So first, osmosis causes water uptake down at the roots. Next, the water is going to cling to the inside of the xylem wall, and you can see there's a bond there, and then there's bonds between the water. This is going to cause it to move itself up. And then finally, the evaporation at the leaves keeps the water flowing the entire way up the tree. So through the different pressure differences and with the innate properties of water, cohesion of the water, trees are able to produce a passive transportation network that carries water, 100 feet up into the air, completely against gravity, no pump required.